In this Chapter 5 challenge, I've decided to use handmade instruments I've received from Africa from my great-grandparents and my grandparents. They are all handmade. For instance, this is a thumb piano. Now you can see that each prong has a different length. One shorter and the other get longer. This is carved out of wood, and in the back they have brass wiring that holds these metal prongs together. Now, with each prong, the shorter it is, the higher the pitch is. The longer the prongs are, the lower the pitch is. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but I'm going to try to see if you can see this. When I pluck this, you can see the metal prong vibrate. Now, there is tension on this, but I cannot change it. The tension will always stay the same. But I know you can't feel this right now, but if you were to pluck this one, you can feel very little tension. But when I pluck this one, there is high tension. And the difference of tension causes the pitches to be diverse. For instance, this pitch is lower and this pitch is higher. Also, when you pluck this one, it has little waves, but when you pluck this one, it has big waves. Not waves, but it vibrates. And the volume can be changed on this. For instance, you can press really hard and make it louder. You can press softly and you can make it almost like a whisper. Forgot the synonym or the antonym of loud. Wow. I'm moving on, and this is an African flute. There is a name for it, I promise you, but I don't know what they call it back in Africa. This is a wooden carved flute. It's just like a flute almost. It kind of seems like a recorder. But, as you see, there's a hole here, no hole here. You have to blow through this hole and use your fingers to cover each hole. You don't have to cover every hole, although they do have different pitches. So, when I cover this, it'll be different than this. Now, you have to be exactly precise with this instrument, especially because it's not like an original flute. You actually have to make sure your fingers are holding down the hole. Otherwise, it's going to be like a recorder and not make the exact note. So I'm going to try and give you an example, but I need to refresh it on my flute skills. So let me try. And that's the African flute. What happens is when you cover a certain hole, it blocks off airway. You block off the way the air will move out, and it pushes it down, and that causes it to bounce off in the center of this. And each pitch is completely different. It's all diverse. Each pitch has a certain type. Although the more you hold down, the harder it is to get that pitch going due to the lowness of the pitch. But it does work. And then I like to show you effects of light. For instance, behind me is my 5-year-old tortoise named Ram, and he uses a different type of light. It's not a light bulb. It's, well, not your fluorescent lights. This is a heating light bulb. And what happens is there's extra light that comes bouncing off from the light bulb and lands on top. Now, he basked for a good decent 24 hours. So he is constantly under that light. I have tried red light bulbs, and yes, they do have a different frequency with it. Like, for instance, red light bulbs cause the cage, well, his swimming pool, to get hotter, causing it easier for him to bask, but also means that he'll be moving around more. He prefers the heating lamps, which is just regular white light bulbs, but it has a higher hertz to it, if that makes sense. No, higher wattage. And that causes more light to be shown off, and it causes it to heat up more. And what it does is that bounces off and goes towards him. It probably bounces off his shell, but at least he's getting the heat he needs. I've also tried blue lights with him as a daylight kind of light, and it did not give off as much heat waves as it was supposed to, causing him to get ill, which he's still sick from it. And I would say the red light's more efficient at night, and the light he has right now is good for him. And I just wanted to demonstrate light towards you too, even though it's just my tortoise's cage, but I'm also showing you a different type of wave, which is the heat wave. Heat waves are affected by different colors too, and bulbs. So, for instance, red light has more heat waves. And a warm light like this is a basking light, has less heating waves, but more than a blue light bulb, which has nearly not enough heat waves. And that is the end of the presentation.